Good morning. All right, let's get into it. Got some stuff to talk about. Let's start with the market here in small cap. Small cap is, pretty dead lately. We've had a few setups this week that were pretty nice, but looking pretty slow today. IVDA looking like the one with the most potential, just became the leading gapper for a second. It is a potential trade, so we'll see if that one sets up for us. Nice push above $1 right there. Check out the news on it. All right, advances Egyptian localization strategy, signing major new manufacturing partnership for local production of the latest in 360 camera technology. So we want to see what the sector is for sure. Today announced a major expansion, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's a partnership between the Arabs organization for industrialization, AOI, and Egyptian security technology developer Zero Tech. It's the next step in localization roadmap. Let's see here. So it's hard to get a feel for how big of a deal this is. Surveillance cameras. So we have a deal for some surveillance cameras, 360 cameras. Good morning, good morning. If we can see how big the deal was, here we go. So projected to reach 582 million by 2033. Okay, so it's a decent amount of money. 500 million by 2023. For a small cap company, we're talking about peanuts in the bigger picture, but plus by 2033, so that's 500 million. Got a ways to go to get there. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. And you can see how they buried that, a couple paragraphs in, because most people don't read that far into it, so it's just not that exciting. So that's why they do that. There might be more stuff down here, but that's probably all I need to know for this one. Middle East surveillance market as a whole is estimated at $4.3 billion in 2024. So they're taking a $500 million of that market, which is a decent percentage of the market as a whole. So what would that be? %13? All right. So, potential trade here. This is the only one this morning, but we might have a trade on it. We'll see. All right. So what's been happening recently with the Bitcoin situation? We have some predictions here, and Saylor's been up to some crazy stuff, as usual. Let's take a look at this really quick. So Bitcoin's been on a pretty big pullback lately, and I've got this trend line on right about here. So it is testing that trend line pretty heavily right now. It actually broke it, so it's not looking very nice at the moment. But that could rebound right back up and do sort of V-shaped recovery type move. And then we could see some more upside potentially. But this is the bear case for Bitcoin. I have a couple of options on, so this is not just, oh, it only goes down. But here's the bear or the bull case for it. We got a hold of this trend line, so a deep pullback into the trend line, and then a hold, and then a rebound. So this is very important for MSTR, and the liquidation price for MSTR is right around $35,000 or 35,000, yeah, a share or per Bitcoin. So it's going to be difficult to do that unless there's a really big, disgusting pullback to get all the way back down there. So that's why I'm looking at the bear case for this, which appears to be holding up in the 60,000 range. And Saylor's price at MSTR is right around 70,000. So he's still up on that. He's not going to be liquidated anytime soon. So this will have to pull back quite a bit for MSTR to be in trouble. And then he might have to repay some of that debt to those investors. So it looks like it needs to go to around 35,000. And now that's an estimate. It's hard to know for sure. And there is a clause in the offering, the convertible notes, that says if the price of MSTR drops below 70% of the conversion price for 20 out of 30 days, then the investors can get their money back. So let's take a look at MSTR. Actually, I have it up there. Let's go MSTR. So MSTR is looking a little bit sketchy at the moment. It looks like a penny stock. This is a pattern we love to trade in penny stocks. Speaking of penny stocks, let me not forget about the one I might want to trade here. Okay, so yeah, it's just a classic blow off top move into a pullback, backside bounce. Okay, now we're on the backside for real now. We're pulling back. And look at that pattern in the background there. It's just following that pretty much to a T. And so I would kind of expect MSTR to follow this pattern unless something drastically changes. But so far, not looking like that's going to happen. So we're going to see probably some chop here on MSTR. Now, where is the conversion price in question? That's going to be 670, right around here, 672. So let me do a 70% pullback on that. So 70% pullback is right there. So we're looking at right around a $200 level for MSTR for this rule to trigger. So I'm going to put a line there at 199, 200. Let's just round it off, $200. Okay, close enough. That'll give us an idea if we fall under that for too long. So it does need to be under this level for 20 out of 30 days. So again, the conversion price is way up here. Let me put a line up here too, just so I have that on the chart, because this could be relevant in the future. So this is not anything we haven't seen before. They've been doing this kind of convertible notes offering all the way up, and we see what they do is they put the offering out, put the conversion price above the price of the stock a decent bit, and then if the stock rips, then everything's okay. So right back here, we had some of that going on, and it ripped. Now they did it again, higher, and so now they're hitting 670 area. So now the question is, are we going to see MSTR hold under the 70% zone for 20 out of 30 days consecutively? Well, not consecutively, but within 30 days of trading. Are we going to see this pullback or not? Long enough. So here's the line. It looks like this might not be super exact. It's about right though. We got maybe a couple days under that. We'll have to tighten this up a little bit, but we have officially crossed the threshold. And now we need to see if this is going to hold under that for 20 out of 30 days. So you could even say this day maybe counts too. So this day didn't count. So potentially we have, maybe that day counts. See, we got to tighten this up. I'm not going to do it here, but this is the idea. And we'll adjust this later. But potentially you've got 1-2 days. This day was over, so it's good. But these two still count towards our total of 20. So we got 2 more after that. So we have potentially 4 days here under that level. And we just need 20. So it's kind of tight though. We'll see if this plays out like the blueprint in the background does. If it does, then it's definitely going to happen over here. First half of next year, it looks like would be the timing of it. For now, a lot of times these drastic pullbacks like this tend to want to bounce. So I wouldn't be surprised if this bounces and then comes back later. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But there's a lot of fear with Bitcoin and MSTR, because if this does trigger and we have the 70% rule trigger, the investors get their money back for those convertible notes. And they're not taking any risk really on this. They're just taking some opportunity cost because they could be investing in something else that actually makes money. But they will get their money back regardless. And that means Saylor will have to liquidate some Bitcoin to pay off those debts, which would impact potentially the price of Bitcoin. And of course, everybody knows that this is going to be happening. So if he starts selling, everyone else is going to sell too. And it causes a cascade effect of selling, which is not good for the price of Bitcoin overall. So we don't want this to happen. We want this to stay above the 70% threshold, until 2028 at least. So that's going to be the conversion date, December 2028. And the problem is, this is the worst case scenario, is if Bitcoin drops too much, and then Saylor would not be able to repay those debts. MSTR goes bankrupt, and the convertible note holders lose all their money. So that is the probably worst case scenario for the convertible note holders, is bankruptcy. Otherwise, they get their money back. It's a 0% interest loan, basically, but they'll get their money back, or they'll make a lot of money if Bitcoin actually goes up by the conversion date. So that's kind of the timeline for this. Now, if we go into this crazy pullback cycle, it looks like we're not going to hit that timeline of December 2028, because that's going to be way out here. Now, this is Bitcoin, but we would need this to happen on MSTR. Now, MSTR correlates to Bitcoin, so that's why I'm looking at both of these. So this would need to push 670. I think 672 is the exact price. But that's the idea. Now, if Bitcoin does this, it's probably not happening. But eventually, maybe it does happen. It does actually continue higher regardless. So we'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on the Saylor situation and see if he's got to start selling some Bitcoin or not. His current price entry is right around 70,000. So he's up on those shares, or he's up on Bitcoin at the moment, as long as this doesn't pull back too much. So if he does have to liquidate, then Bitcoin's going to crash for a while. It might go into a deeper bear market. If we get a rally sooner, maybe the government comes out and says, we're going to back Bitcoin and we're going to become the leaders of Bitcoin, and we're going to make sure Bitcoin goes to $1 million, then we're going to see a crazy rally, and it's going to turn on a dime and start ripping back higher. But something needs to happen. Otherwise, I don't know. It seems like from the technical side, this trend line right here is pretty critical. And look what happened last time we broke that exact same trend line right here. Didn't look good. We had a breakdown of the trend line, pulled back up to the trend line, and then it crashed. For a while, we had the bear market, and then eventually it did rally back higher. So we could see that happen again. If it does happen, the ideal entry would be, for me, in the 60,000 area. That's probably where it's going to hold up. Otherwise, we'll have to see. Maybe we get this trend line break here, get a little retest, and we see something happen for the dip hold. Maybe Saylor jumps back in. Who knows? But we got to keep an eye on Saylor for now, because if he starts liquidating Bitcoin, then Bitcoin's going down probably. So we'll keep an eye on it. Looks like we got some IBDA. So we're going to be trying this. Hopefully we get something nice here into the open. Not a ton of time here for this to enter, but we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm really hoping. Yeah, so the overall picture for SPY looks interesting. It really looks like we're just following the .com bubble pretty much to a T. So we got the blueprint in the background there, and so far it is right on track with that. So I don't know why it wouldn't just continue following this pattern. It could diverge at any time, but for now, it's pretty much following it very nicely. So, like areas over here, this had a bit of a crack, but it caught back up. And then this is all very similar. So if we follow this playbook for the market as a whole, it would appear that we've got another year of upside on the market, before we enter potentially into a bear market for a year or so. So we'll see what it does, but that's the forecast at the moment. Looks like potential run up into 2027. Looks like 2026 is going to be just grinding higher. Possible top out in January 2027, and then we see the pullback. So everybody wants to be early, or everybody's calling the top for years, but the reality is it doesn't have to top out easily. It could chop around for a long time before actually topping. So it's good to have that kind of perspective with this kind of stuff. And then ideally, yeah, we hit the trend break over here in March. Boom, we hit some shorts. Invest into the dip. And then hopefully we rally back up. So I'm really hoping this sort of times with Bitcoin well. We've got, yeah, this is the bear case, but we do have a bull case too. Oh, that's another bear case. Here we go. Yeah, so the bull case is we simply hold on the trend line, come back up, and then send it higher into January. January, February area. So we'll see what it does on this pullback. This is kind of critical at the moment. All right, we'll see if IBDA does something nice for me. Three minutes to the bell. We had a really nice one yesterday, SGBX. Clean trade, man. Clean clear out in the pullback. Amazing fader on that one. Pretty nice. And this is what happens with a lot of these. You get these clear outs, and this one is a multi-day runner, so these tend to be more sticky than usual. But this one faded beautifully all day long. We had a pretty big pullback in the overall market yesterday too, which probably helped us out quite a bit. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else. MNDR was a notable one yesterday too. This one had a really nice pre-market move. Held its gains pretty good into the end of the day. Had a VWAP squeeze late day. And then it's gapping overnight. This was a tempting overnight trade to the long side. You know, I would want to sell into the move up. Maybe 20-30% potential on that. Selling in pre-market. Now it's looking like potential backsides in on that. All right, let's see what IVDA does here. Do we rip or do we dip? Or do we do a little bit of both? But yeah, I kind of think the market's going to hold up for another year at least. And, you know, people always try to call the top, but it's never going to play out like you think. So I would guess another year of running. Be really nice. Now, there's a couple things that are a little interesting, like Meta. So the leaders could change, but when we see this kind of pullback on Meta, that's a little interesting. You know, it's kind of a nasty drop, and really, it's the same exact thing that happened back here in 2022 during the bear market. We actually had a bear market right there for a year. So it did drop like that, and then it continued down for quite a while till the end of the year, all year. And then it was straight up after that. So now if we see that again with Meta, the buy would be in the 400s. But that means also we're halfway through the bear market. If there is a bear market, which we're not really in a bear market yet. But Meta's in a bear market, kind of. It's in its own kind of bear situation. But, this could always bounce at any time. So this could be a higher low from this April low, too. So this could easily diverge from this. So we'll see what it does, but there's no obvious trend line on it yet. And NVIDIA kind of, I don't know, it might get choppy. This is not the best trend line, so I'm just going to remove that because we don't really have a great trend line yet for NVIDIA. But they had good earnings, popped on earnings, and now it's come down. Kind of like Apple did. Apple did the exact same thing. So, if it drops, this could just turn into a great long situation. But it does look awful toppy to me, too. So, I don't know. The tops don't have to be fast. They can take quite a while to actually top out. So, I don't know. Maybe it chops around some more for a whole year. Tops out for a year and then maybe grinds a little bit higher. And then it rolls over. It's a pretty absurd move, though. Just imagine 2022, this was at $13. Now it's at $177. Just buy the dip. Don't worry about it. You get 70% pullback off the top, and then you buy the dip. Look at this one, another one. That was a 55% pullback off the top in 2018. Held the dip, boom, that's the place to buy. So these big drops off the top like that, when they hold with the bottom, chop around for a while, kind of confirming that's the best place to try to get in. Maybe throw some trend lines on for guidance. Tesla. Now, I've been calling a pullback on Tesla to the mid 300s since October, September. So it's finally happening. But it needs to test this trend line here. And then we'll see what it does. I'd love to see a market rally into the end of the year. Would be really, really nice. Okay, IVDA trying to squeeze. I just never believe it can happen. Plus, with this government shutdown ending, we're going to be seeing more offerings popping up. So hopefully those start kicking in. All right. Trying to test pre-market highs. And we'll see if it holds up or not. Not much else. We got NVVE's cheapy. Nice pattern, but too cheap. OSRH kicking up a little bit. Another sub dollar. Nice pattern, but it's too expensive. Too expensive, not up enough, float's too high. All right, IVDA, we're going to see if the squeeze happens or not. Poking over pre-market high right here. Morning, Scotty. We are attempting IVDA. Just broke pre-market high, but this is the test, right? So is it going to fake out the high and then crash? Or is it going to squeeze and then crash? All roads lead to crash. Yeah, and offering season's coming up. So with the government shutdown, they're not processing offerings like they were. And now since the government's reopened, we're going to be seeing more offerings, I suspect. So typically the way this works is you get about 20 to 30% more offerings than usual after the government reopens, after an extended shutdown period. And so this will last for probably 1 to 3 months of extra offering activity, just because there's a big backlog. So hopefully some of our all-day faders drop offerings. We'll catch some here and there. All right, this is looking good. So classic pre-market high fake out into possible downtrend. Could always be a double fake out. So we'll see what we get on it. Key level at $1. That is the obvious psych level. Well, this is looking good, so we'll have to let this play out. See how we end up on it. Too bad there's nothing else. But I do think we're going to see some runners towards the end of the year. We've had some rumblings this week. We've had some good stuff. It was a really slow October, though. Or, yeah, November, October, whatever, you know what I mean. October was okay. November, slower, much slower. But again, with this offering situation, I think that's a catalyst in itself because these companies are going to be incentivized to pump their stocks, and the overall market looks like it's fine for at least a year. So there's plenty of time for that to play out. You know, just looking at the SPY, and it just tracks perfectly with this .com bubble, which is in the background there. So we've got pretty much one-for-one moves happening from the .com bubble. And we've got about a year left on this before it potentially tops out. If it plays out similarly, which so far, pretty much 90% of the action is the same. You got one little divergence right here, but then it catches up. So I don't see why we wouldn't just continue chopping around, grinding higher for another year. Then maybe we hit a trend break in January 2027. I could see that. Just a guess, but this makes a lot of sense to me. And then all of a sudden, the market's not crashing. Bitcoin goes back up, and then crazy things can happen. We get loads of small caps running, loads of offerings happening, which we love to see. I should buy some ball. We're going to buy some ball here for a long swing. Everything's on sale. All right, we got some ball on. I wanted to see a bigger pullback on ball, but it probably isn't going to happen. I'll still average in case it does. So if we get the bull scenario, this is what's going to happen with a lot of stocks. You're going to get a lot of money rotating out of these overextended tech stocks and into stuff that, just runs the economy, runs the country. Like Ball, nice boring stock, but has some nice moves. All right, where we had an IVDA, we got 94, 93. Looking okay on that. Can always come back, but gotta let it work. Another thing is going to be the stimulus. They're calling it a dividend. So just like what happened in COVID, everybody's going to get some money from the government. A lot of it's going into the market. Market's going to pump. Quantitative easing, they're going to start printing money again. Market's going to pump. If they do that, then we could see the Bitcoin bull case play out. It'd be great timing if they did it today. IVDA in the 80s now, looking good. I really got to learn some big cap, scalpy trades. I think there's a lot to be made there, but I'm just not great at it. Patience. I am enjoying the swings. I love the swings because it's like passive, much more passive style. But you can still make a lot on the swings. It doesn't have to be long swings, like maybe a month hold, something like that. 2 month, 3 month. And if I beat the market, that's all I'm trying to do is beat the market. So what is that, 10% a year on your money on average? And a lot of these swings are just like Lulu. This is just crazy. You get trend break, clear trend break move right here, and that's a 50% bounce. That's crazy. Just right there, and that's September, October, November, December. So maybe even get in a September maybe entry, and then hold for 3 months. There's 50% right there on a trend break setup. Pretty incredible. But the day trades are just, man, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. I don't know. You know, there is a strategy I'm going to test out, and it's a scalpy big cap strategy. Really simple. I think it has a ton of potential, but simple stuff like this. So you got breakout, breakdown, simple setups. So like this, we're looking at maybe 3-month, 4-month breakout, breakdown type thing. But like this, Lulu, you put a line right there. Boom, you get the low. Now guess what? Right over here, this day, when it breaks that low, you could hit the short and just cover it into the drop. Same day. Nice trade. Another one right here. A low. A little more choppy. But same thing. This had some follow through on it. Could have tried a couple days here. Would have worked both days. Worked even better down here. So you could probably do that on the day it breaks, maybe the day after it breaks too, and then be done after that. Look for another one. Can do the same thing on the long side. Like right here, this looks sketchy, but not really for the day trade. The day trade looks sick. Got obvious high right there. Boom. Hit the breakout. Sell it. Same day. One trade on it. Done. If it continued and broke that high the next day, then you could try again the next day. Keep doing it. Right here, another one. Get this high right here. Boom. Nice day trade. Another one right here. Right there. It's like, I don't know, it seems pretty good. Another one right there. I mean, I'm basically 90% win rate right now on my paper trading. Boom, another one. This one. See, you don't want to do it at the end of the day. You want it to be towards the beginning of the day. But day 2, that was the play. You know? It's simple. Another one right there. Another one right there. Another one right here. Another one right here. Another one right there. This one's a wick. That might be a loss. Day 2 kind of worked. This one, and then that's not really a setup. This is a good one. Day 2 follow-up trade. So we're going to do some back testing on that. That might be my day trade on big cap type of setup. I do like the trend breaks too, short-term trend breaks. Nugent, nice call on Apple. Look, took the long at the close yesterday. 165.50, trimming over 168. Nice. Love it. Or was that AAL? Let's see. No, I don't know. Okay, IBDA in the 80s. SNDK short. Let's take a look. If I can type it, SNDK. SanDisk. Man, what a chart. That is such a beautiful daily chart. Crazy. Beautiful entry, geez. The top tick. It was a pivot, yep. Love it. Yeah, I always struggle with the pivots exactly like that, but I like these kind of trend breaks too. Like shorter term trend break, like something like this. So I like this entry on the break of that breakdown pullback area right in there is probably easy execution. But geez, this daily is just ridiculous. This looks like a penny stock. I could find a penny stock that looks just like this. So what it should do is come down towards 150 and then bounce. This is an interesting one too because there's just no action on it really. It's just up. The breakout down here is clean too. 2025 level. Clean breakout. That is the cleanest breakout you'll ever see. Right at $60, $58. Classic exhaustion short. Yeah. Very nice. Day 2. I think Tesla's going to do second red day. It's trying to. So Tesla, I've had this prediction for a while. Let me pull this one up. So this was the guess back in September. We were calling for a pullback to the 380 area, 360 area, and we got the blueprint on. So it looks like pullback to 360, 380 is happening. There was an extra little double top move before it did that. But now it looks like it's catching up to the blueprint. And then the big test is going to be on this trend line. Is it going to hold this? It probably will. It probably will bounce. And then the question is, are we going to crack, come back, or are we going to hold it and then rip back up? And with the market the way it is, we could rally into the end of the year. I am thinking, the market's not going to top out for another year, so this would just be nuts, though, if Tesla ripped now. I just don't think it can. I think it's got to consolidate. I got a bigger blueprint on it. Let's see where I put it. Get rid of this one. Let me find it. Yeah, there it is. This would be my best guess on what Tesla's going to do in the long run. I think it needs to consolidate before it can go higher. And the blueprint is saying that. So we are following pretty closely. And it's due for a pullback to around 300, according to this. But it's going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. Probably, maybe, potentially fake breakdown into rip in 2027 would be the guess. Best guess. But everything I look at is saying that we got to test this trend line, and it's probably going to break the trend line in the short term. Tesla was long this morning, flipped short. Sweet. Yeah, just guessing here. But that would be my guesstimate here. So if Tesla gets back to $200 all in for generational wealth to $1,500. Long term. A lot of green today. Whoa. Wait a minute. What is this? Okay. Never mind. Yeah, Disney's, I don't know, everything's just setting up for a nice buy opportunity. When you see blood, that's where you want to buy, but you also don't want to get in too early, so like Cracker Barrel just keeps bleeding out. Never broke trend line though, so we never bought it. That was a wild pullback. Yeah, and something like Coinbase too. We've got all-time high right there. 430-ish. Not that far away. I mean, if this just consolidates for a bit, it's going to grind back up and break out. Hopefully. I'm not in it here, but we're watching it. Nike on watch for a big trend break, and I'm talking swings, so I only swing trade these right now. Coin in a descending channel right now on the medium time frame. Yes. Can't touch it. I can't touch it here, but this is where I'd want to do a trend line. I don't really have a good one, so I can't even put one on because it's just straight down. But if I could, it'd be something like this. And maybe I could bring it into 4 hour. Yeah, it's like same difference. But yeah, that's the idea. If this breaks, maybe it's a buy. And it would be such a classic move for this obvious key level right here, support at 290, to get broken. It shakes everybody out, and then if it starts reclaiming, that would be the place to buy, maybe for the breakout. All-time high breakout. It's very tied to Bitcoin. Okay, Tesla coming down. I probably should have hit this one. I was thinking second red day on it for sure, but do some more testing on big cap day trades. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. We have this IVDA short still. We're going to see how this one fades. Hopefully it just gets obliterated. But I'll put an update in Discord later, however this plays out. Good luck, everybody. Have a good weekend. Be back at it Monday.